Okay, so this is not a sermon. All right. I went to seminary, worked in a church for a minute. I am not meant to be a preacher, but I do still feel called to ministry in my own way. So I'm going to just talk a little bit about some stuff I've been thinking about. I'm going to cuss, probably a lot, probably inappropriately. So if you are someone for whom your faith and spirituality is like sensitive to language and shit, press stop right now because I'm about to say some stuff. It's gonna be F words and dams and shits and fuck. It's gonna be just a lot of shit. Okay, so be prepared. What I've been thinking about is like this is a big week for Christians. This is Holy Week. It is the week before Easter. It's like the big deal. Like this is the big show in the world of Christianity. And in this week, we are walking with Jesus toward his crucifixion. Not going to even get into the whole like soteriology of what that means. Yeah, soteriology. In seminary, you learn a lot of words that mean absolutely ridiculously normal things, but they need to give them a lot more letters and syllables. The soteriology is about like the theology around salvation. There are a lot of dumb words in seminary. I made up a new word called akiyak, academic yakking. I'm not getting into that, but I digress. This is a big week for Christians, and we're with Jesus on this walk toward crucifixion. There's a lot of grief. There's a lot of grief and sadness and despair in this week. For Christians, we have a lot of way of marking that, right? We know that on Good Friday, Jesus gonna die. It's gonna be terrible. It's just gonna be a whole fucking mess. I'm not even gonna get into like the whole political aspect of crucifying Jesus either. Like, that's not for me. There are people who do this. Womanist ethicists and theologians. Dr. Dolores Williams. That's all I'm going to say. Anyway, but I do want to talk about the fact that, like, not only is this, like, week of Holy Week a hard week, it's a week of sadness, it's somber, but, like, where we are in the world right now is just, like, a sad, like, shitty place. Like, ew. It's all really hard and really dense and really dark. And this whole COVID-19 thing, like, like this is supposed to be a peak week in a lot of cities for cases of COVID-19. And it's all really terrifying, and we need ways to cope. And that's where our faith and our spirituality come in, right? Like, that's supposed to help us get through. But some of it, like, just doesn't work. I mean, I hate to be that person, but, like, some of it is just bullshit. Whatever you're into, whether you're Christian or something else, like sometimes what you believe doesn't even work, like and I like all of those different faith beliefs, like I like the spiritual woo-woo stuff. I got all kinds of crystals and sage and all kinds of what have you. And I love those people who are all like, guys, if we could just like raise our vibration and like get the planet vibrating on a different level. So like if we can like just change our thinking, that is great. And if that works for you, Amber, Tiffany, Brittany, Ashe, all that goodness, do you vibrate higher, boo? That shit don't work for me. I'm not feeling that right now. And then you've got like the conservative evangelicals who are like walking around saying stupid, dumbass shit like, this is God's punishment for X, Y, and Z, and you have to just turn from your wicked ways and then God will save us. And I'm like, fuck you. Because, like, really, whose wicked ways, first of all? And then, secondly, like, that's super triggering for those of us who have not felt welcomed in church, who have been pushed out of church, rejected by church. Like when people are using those scriptures like turn from your wicked ways, what they're saying, what we're hearing as queer people is you're the wicked ways. That's really triggering and horrible. And I just want to like shout out to my friend Candace Simpson, who's been like basically beating that drum. Like, stop saying that. It's triggering us. Knock it off. that shit's not working for me neither. And then you've got like, you know, your mainstream folks, your more mainstream Protestant folks who are, you know, who are leaning really hard into grace and mercy and hope. And that's awesome. You know, like that's really fantastic. Faith over fear. Yay, I love that. Digging into our like good fear scriptures. You know, God has not given us a spirit of fear. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. Yes, all of that. Love it. Not helping me. Not really. Not right now. I mean, great. Look, if your faith is doing its job and helping you manage your fear, give your faith a fucking cookie. My faith is struggling right now. Like the whole faith over fear thing for me. I don't know how to reconcile that. Like I don't know how to have my faith and my fear exist at the same time without my fear just being like rah, 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 rah. You know what I'm saying? It's hard. I just feel like there's got to be some other form of spiritual expression in this moment to capture what's really happening for me. Like hopeful scriptures are not really making it for me right now. Like this is Holy Week. Jesus is about to die. Y'all want to get to Easter. Y'all want to get to the resurrection. Me too. But if we look at like this week as like a small sample of what's happening in the larger, like in the larger world, we are all in our Holy Week. We're all in this week of grief and despair that's going on for a long time. And Easter, the Easter of COVID-19 is like far off, right? So we can't act like it's not happening and like try to just focus on the shiny and the happy and the hopeful. I mean, I can't at least. So I started thinking about like what are the other kinds of ways that I can express myself spiritually and what other ways are coming up for me in terms of my faith. And I thought about, y'all, it's a whole book in the Bible called Lamentations. Lament. Like the city of Jerusalem had just been destroyed and the city is crying out in despair, wondering like, what the hell? Where is God? Have we been deserted by God? This is some bullshit. We hate it. And ew. This hurts. This is shit. This is terrible. And we don't even know like where God is right now. We don't even know if God is helping us right now or if God would help us right now. I think there's something really important about lament. I had this professor at seminary, a womanist ethicist. She was my academic advisor at Union and is now the dean of Vanderbilt Divinity School. I got connections. I know people. Dr. Emily Towns, who wrote this amazing book called Breaking the Fine Rain of Death. And she talks about in the Bible, there is a pattern of deliverance. In the Bible, and the pattern is there is distress, there is a cry of distress or a lament, and then a promise of delivery and praise. And she said, but the people first have to cry out to God. She says, in genuine assembly, genuine weeping, genuine sorrow, we have to cry out to God. And I feel like that's the part that's missing for me in all of the like feel good theology that we're talking about and all of the how do you use your faith to cope. I think we need to lament. We need to scream. We need to cry out. We need to call out to God and talk about and express how painful all of this really is. I think it's important that we do this, that we express our lament because we need to be authentic because that, in my opinion, is where we meet God, is in our authenticity. That if we don't feel the hard feelings, if we don't feel the anger and the sadness and the grief and the pain, if we don't get to it, and I'm not even just talking about just to release it and express it, but if we don't get to it, if we don't allow for those feelings to come forth and to come out, then we miss the opportunity to connect to the way God is in us and with us in our grief. Does that make sense? Like it's like if we just gloss over it with platitudes and shiny happy thoughts, we miss the opportunity to meet God in our tears and our grief. God never leaves. God is still with us, but it's really hard to feel when we're afraid. It's really hard to feel when we're sad and scared and full of despair. And so, since we can't just turn those feelings off, maybe what we need to do is feel those feelings, sit with those feelings, and feel God with us in those feelings. Don't think I'm really explaining this well, but what I really want to say is I want to lament. Okay? I want to fucking scream. I want to lose my fucking mind screaming and raging and pulling my hair out. I want sackcloth and ashes. Like that's where I am right now. And I don't want to do it alone. I want to do it with people. I want to lament in community because this is a communal experience. We are all in our separate homes, on our separate devices, trying to stay connected to each other, trying to encourage each other. I think we also need to cry and scream and lament with each other. Lament, like hardcore, like cuss up a storm, bang some shit, whatever it takes. Because right now, the only thing that I have that's working for me is that God is with me in the sadness and the pain and the suffering. I hope. I trust. But I can't act like it's not happening. And I can't act like it's not making it impossible for me to function. And I can't act like scriptures and platitudes and well wishes and hopes and good vibes, like that's just not enough. So if you want to lament with me, holla at your girl. I'm thinking maybe I'll put together some kind of like community scream. Maybe? I don't know. That's all I wanted to say. I said it wasn't a sermon, but then look, it's 15 minutes. But look, I came up Baptist, right? 15 minutes is hardly a sermon in a Baptist church, all right? Like 15 minutes is like, that's some Catholic stuff, right? Like, so, Protestants watching, you're welcome.